Hi, this is Mark from Skywagon's podcasts. Today we're going to be interviewing John Rucker, just having an informal chat. And it's not, you haven't gone to the airlines, you haven't flown corporate. It's just somebody who learned later in life and then only flies GA for fun and various other reasons. You don't have to go all the way to corporate or fly an airliner. So John, thanks very much for coming in.
Thank you.
So tell us how you started out. Were you like a kid in the beginning learning to fly or what?
Yeah, a little bit of an interesting story, but first of all, thank you for doing these. It's just a thrill for us as pilots to listen to Mark and Mike Patey and Juan Brown, but to just sit down and talk about aviation with friends and other pilots is just
It's like
a
being
real
in a hangar,
thrill.
just chatting away.
And keep the make and model videos
I'm
coming.
going to keep doing those.
Those
yeah,
are
don't worry.
fantastic. It feels like not only did you spec all those parts, but you actually paid for them yourself when you do those videos. So those are thrilling. My dad was a pilot, and from the time I can remember, actually my first flight was 3 months old. But from the time I can remember, we flew to friends and neighbors and, flew around California,
But
Mexico.
he wasn't commercial.
Just GA.
GA, yeah.
Soloed 1947, September 11th in a little Piper Cub without any flaps or radio.
Or starter.
Oh, yeah, a little stick in front telling you whether you had some gas or not.
Cork.
Yeah. And, went through Taylorcraft, Stinson's, 170.
Tail draggers all.
For a long time. But when I started flying with him, he was into Cessnas and 182, then 205, 210, and then eventually back to a 182. And he had a lot of interesting stories flying into Mexico and Canada and Mexico at night one time when the Guaymas and the runway lights were out. So on the third or fourth pass over the airport, he said, we're going to have to land on a road. And about then he looked down and there's all these lights lined up. Oh, what is this? So he
Runway lights.
All the people in town came out and lined up their cars because the runway lights were out and had these lights pointed down the runway. And he lands with, less than minimal reserves left. So,
brilliant.
And so he was a really good pilot. And I didn't appreciate that till I started flying. But when I was 16, he came in my room one night and said, he says, I have an offer for you. I'll help you get your private pilot's license. You can fly my airplane, or I'll help you get my car or your first car. And oh boy,
16-year-old boy.
16-year-old boy. I mean, that's a big decision, right? Have to really think about that. So I thought about that for about 30 seconds, and I was really interested in aviation, but my passion for cars and girls outweighed the interest in aviation. So in 30 seconds, I made a decision. Car.
What was it?
Well, here's the story. I sat down in my room for months plotting out, circling all the different cars that I wanted on, that's back in the day when you had newspapers and want ads.
And what year was this?
This was 1968.
So you had the early 60s, late 50s cars you could have chosen from?
Yeah.
The good ones.
Oh, the muscle cars. Oh,
right.
Man. And, from
sacrificed aviation for that.
Oh, yes. Well, after a couple of months, my dad comes in the room and says, I come out in the driveway, I got something to show you. And I go, what's going on? He goes, well, I told you I'd help you get your first car. Okay. So I walk out, and I'd love to have it now, but it was a 1942 military Jeep.
Oh, wow.
Flathead 4-cylinder, rust brown, no top, just a little canvas top, no heater.
Shovel on the side.
Shovel on the side. Not a date car, right?
That's the point.
So it took me a couple of years to figure it out, but that was his way of teaching me a lesson about making decisions. And I also found out that he wanted a Jeep. So
oh, yeah. Okay, good.
So that was my missed opportunity to learn to fly, and it wasn't stars didn't align till actually I was 59 to start flying.
So what's that, 20, 30 years later?
Yeah.
Were you still looking skyward, wondering?
Oh, it never left me.
Oh, okay.
There's two things that were in my blood, sawdust and aviation oil.
That's a whole other subject. Sawdust,
Yeah,
interesting, because I do
yes.
woodwork too.
Yes.
So what tipped you over the scales in the end and made you learn to fly at 58?
I came up here. Oh, a friend of mine flies an A36 out of Placerville, and we got to chatting, and he said, "Come up to the airport sometime. I'll show you my airplane." So anyway, we ended up. I was golfing a lot at that time, so we got a couple of guys together and threw the clubs in the back of his A36 and went golfing.
Right.
And I forgot about golfing, and he put me in the in the right seat.
Had you not been in a small plane that entire time?
One time, and it was not a good experience. We hit a downdraft, and that didn't freak me out, but I just didn't have the opportunity or means until then, and after flying that A36 a little bit, and oh boy,
I can do this.
I want to do this.
Yeah.
And started taking lessons up here at Placerville with the local instructor, and I can remember my first unassisted takeoff so vividly because two things happened. One is, as soon as I lifted off, this rush of emotions came over me. I just then understood how good of a pilot my dad was.
Was he gone by now?
He was. He was. And, that's a regret that he wasn't able to be in the back seat at that time. But, and the second was after, 30 seconds, I'm at 600 feet, and the instructor says, "Okay, turn." I can't. I'm too busy.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I was overwhelmed with...
Have you seen the movie Always?
No.
You watch Always, and you'll see that your dad was in the back seat.
Oh,
that's the inspiration.
Cool. Yeah, it was. Yeah.
So so you learned, and then you bought one. What did you buy?
I actually bought a 172R model right about the time I soloed.
So an R is late 80s, mid to late.
The R 172.
Oh, of course.
Was it was a 1998 R
yes,
model.
The new brand, 180 horse. Yeah.
This one was just before the 180, so it was the 160. But what a great plane to learn in and start flying. And
did you buy it to learn in?
Yes, to finish my.
Nice. No rental.
No rental.
And
after that.
Who flew it last? You.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
And it was a great thing, and it ended up putting it in a flight school, local flight school, and for 5 years, and hit it just right, and actually bought a couple other airplanes because that one was flying a lot, and flew those and flipped them, and the old saying in aviation, you know how to make a small fortune in aviation.
Start with a big one.
Start with a big one.
Yeah.
Well, I broke that trend. I hit it just not because of anything I knew or did. I just happened to hit it right where I sold the airplane for a lot more than I paid for it and put 1,500 hours on the engine.
That's a good business model. I might try that.
It probably worked for about 2 or 3 years there, and so we had a great time with that little 172, and it was a great airplane. So.
Did you bought a 182 after that?
I bought an airplane called a Beach. Listen for it, Sport. Ever heard of that? Beach Sport. Very similar to a Musketeer, only downsized.
Exactly.
150 horse.
Fixed gear like a Warrior.
Very fixed gear. Yeah. Very fixed gear. Yeah. And I bought that for tax dollars and fixed it up and flew it for a year and a half and flipped that, and then bought the 182. Actually, I still had the Beach when I bought them. So I had 3 airplanes at one time. My wife was just, "What are you doing?"
Nice. It's better knowing you at the airport playing with the planes.
Yeah, she knew where I was.
Yeah.
So, and then eventually the 206.
So is that what you have now?
Yes, we have a 1999 Turbo 206 H model.
Nice.
Yeah, with some Aspens in it, and IFD 440 and a JPI 830. It's very, very
so
fun
you've
plane.
never aspired to go corporate or airlines or anything. You just use it for. What is your primary use of it for fun?
For fun, I've flown grandsons to fishing events. I've flown to golf events. I've flown to Reno Air Show was just a kick to fly up there.
Oh, yeah.
But we've done probably up until the last couple of years, as I've slowed down, we did about 60% with our business.
Oh, okay.
And the other 40% private.
And then you said you flew some animals around.
Oh, yes. Well, having grandkids and daughters that are animal people, they want to buy this great dog in Oregon or Washington, and hey, Dad, can you fly us up there to pick up this $700 dog? Now
they say never mix children and animals.
Yeah,
but I think that's in the movies. But I think flying's fine.
Yes, so we've had a blast doing that. We've flown missionaries up and down California. We've flown sick people to hospitals.
Who do you do that for? How do you get into flying?
Just out of contact,
Oh, you just know that it's not. What's it called where they do that? Where you can fly sick people to appointments and things.
There's angels.
Angel flights.
Angel flights. Yes. Yeah. But this has just been from word of mouth.
Oh, okay. That's nice to be able to help out.
Yeah. Had one opportunity. A friend of mine's son died very untimely, and he was in Monterey when he passed away, and they contacted the mortuary down there and said, we want to have him buried up here. What would it take to do that? And they said, well, we'll be glad to, put him in a body bag and deliver him to you. That'll be $3,000. So another friend of mine and I that was a pilot got together and started taking some measurements and thinking about some things and contacting the sheriff. And
206 is probably the only one that you could probably practically have done that in.
This is the guy, my friend with the A36.
Oh, that would do it. Yeah.
With the executive seating out,
right,
you could put a 6-foot guy laying down in the back. So he said, "Okay, well, I'm in for it."
That makes it a bit tricky on the flight plan where they ask you how many souls are on board.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So he was in Monterey, and I don't know if going into Monterey is such a good idea. So we said, "Would you meet us in Marina?" Which is a little out of the way.
Oh, yeah,
airport.
I know Marina.
They said, "Yeah, that would be fine. We'll meet you under the tree on the south end of the airport, and we'll be in a little black car." What do you want to... Well, think about it. If people are standing around and see you move in a body bag from a car to an airplane,
that could take some explaining.
Legal as it is, it could, raise some eyebrows. So anyway, we met him there, and they put him in A36, and we're taxiing out. And I said, "Oh, Mike, hang on. We're illegal." And he goes, "What are you talking about?" I said, "He's not buckled." So,
No.
So Mike says, "Oh, yeah, okay, just leave me alone. Let me fly." So
I had a friend who was he was a funeral director. He had a hearse, and he's on the freeway with him, a Suburban, and somebody in the back, and the cop pulled him over and said, "Why are you in the carpool lane?" He goes, "I got 2 people in here. Show me where it says they have to be alive."
Very good.
Seriously.
Yeah. Hey.
No, that's nice of you to have done that.
The technical is the technical, yeah.
So tell us, at the end of these chats, we like to always ask people now if they've had any sort of event in their life that made them, a significant event that made you learn from flying about that. Have you had one?
I have. Some small ones, but probably the more significant one was not too long after I bought my 182, probably my 3rd or 4th real trip in it.
How many hours did you have total by now?
I have 2,400.
But when this happened?
Probably 300 or 400.
So, okay, pretty experienced. Okay.
Yeah. And we were flying to Anaheim to a baseball game at night, 4 of us, and we stopped in Porterville and put some fuel in, and I noticed when we were taking off, it's not quite performing like. So went around the pattern, landed, found an A&P, and had him. We couldn't find anything
in the dark.
It wasn't quite dark yet.
Oh.
We're still. So he checked it out. I don't find anything. Run up, pulled cowling off, looked around. So we took off, and it felt better. So went down to L.A., landed, went to the ball game, came back.
So that's what, an hour and a half? flight. Yeah.
And so it's 11:30, 12 o'clock by the time we're getting back to the airplane. We fire up, take off, and I'm climbing out. And you got to get over the mountains there in the LA Valley, and boy, it's just, something doesn't feel quite right. I look down, RPMs are a little low, 2,400 instead of 2,550, and I make a couple of adjustments, a couple of turns, and something's not right.
If there's a decision to be made, you got to make it.
I was thankful that I had good training and good encouragement from a lot of people that if it doesn't feel right, don't do it. So,
what did your passengers think?
one of them was really hey, whatever it takes, let's land. The other one cursed me for making him stay overnight in Ontario or wherever we were, and rented a car, got a motel room, and then drove a rental car, 6.5 hours home.
Oh.
And it turned out that both spark plugs on one cylinders fouled at the same time, and I had,
So it wasn't,
number one was cold.
So it was literally on 5.
It was literally on 5, which says a lot for a Lycoming 470U that runs that well.
Continental.
Continental, yes.
Model year changes. You got to watch my videos.
Yes.
So that was a good precautionary landing. So they cleaned the plugs and it was fine. What made it foul?
A chunk of carbon in one and some oil in the other.
So it was plugs and you're on your way.
No, just like butter.
Perfect. Interesting.
So, yeah, it was a long, quiet drive home, but I'm thankful that.
Better than parking in a field.
Yes, better to be late than dead.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
John, brilliant. Well, it's always very interesting to just speak to everybody, astronauts, students, people who aren't commercial, people who are, it's very good of you to come in and have a chat with us about that.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah. So this is a Skywagon podcast. We have many more of them on the site. Lots of videos about model year changes, different types of planes, about 150 more videos. If you like it, subscribe on the little subscribe link and click on the bell for notifications. But thanks very much for watching. And John, thanks for coming in and having a chat.
Good to be with you. Thanks.